My family's secret almost destroyed us. I found out everything after 10 years. It all started with a birthday. A normal Sunday. At least, that's how it seemed on the surface. I was sitting at the kitchen table, watching the clock tick closer to noon. My wife, Lisa, was in the living room trying to get the kids ready for my son, Alex's 10th birthday party. The house was chaotic. Kids running around, balloons everywhere, a cake half decorated. But something felt off. It wasn't just the usual birthday stress. I couldn't shake this gnawing feeling deep in my stomach. I had just come back from the store, bags full of snacks and decorations in hand. When I walked in, the house felt unusually quiet. Lisa was acting strange, not like herself. She was distracted, almost distant, and I noticed she was avoiding eye contact with me, something she'd never done before. I shrugged it off at first. Maybe she was just stressed about the party. But then I heard it. "Dad, why does Mom keep leaving the room whenever you come near her?" Alex asked me out of nowhere. He was standing by the stairs, holding his toy car, his face scrunched in confusion. "She always runs away when you're around." I froze. My heart skipped a beat. Lisa and I had been married for 12 years, and Alex had never said anything like that before. Not once. I tried to laugh it off, brushing it aside with a joke, but deep down, something didn't sit right. I told myself to stop overthinking things. It was just a rough morning, right? The party went on without a hitch. Friends and family showed up. Laughter filled the air. But as the sun set, I found myself alone in the kitchen, cleaning up after everyone had left. Lisa had been quiet all evening, but she seemed to finally relax once the last guest had left. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice quiet but heavy with something I couldn't place. My stomach tightened. I had never heard her sound like that before. "Of course. What's up?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stood by the window, looking out at the darkened backyard. I could feel the tension in the room building, almost suffocating me. I need to tell you something," she finally said, turning to face me. "I've been keeping something from you, something important." My heart pounded. I wanted to demand she tell me right there, but the words wouldn't come. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Lisa looked away again, her eyes glistening with tears she was trying to hold back. "It's about your family, my family, about everything, really." The air between us thickened. My head started to spin, trying to figure out what she meant. My mind raced to 100 possibilities, but nothing could have prepared me for what she said next. "I wasn't always honest with you about who I am and where I came from." I took a step closer to her, feeling the chill in the room settle deep into my bones. "What are you talking about, Lisa?" She paused for what felt like an eternity. And then she dropped the bombshell. "You're not Alex's biological father." My breath caught in my chest. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. The room started spinning, and I had to grab onto the counter to keep myself from collapsing. I couldn't breathe. What? What do you mean?" Lisa's face turned pale. "I didn't want to hurt you. I thought it was better to keep it a secret, but I can't live with this lie anymore." I stood there paralyzed. I could hear the distant sound of Alex laughing in his room, oblivious to the world that was crumbling around me. My whole life, everything I thought I knew, felt like it was slipping away. Lisa continued, her voice trembling. "It was a mistake, a one-time thing. I was young, confused. But it was over before it ever started." "Who is he?" I managed to choke out. Her eyes welled up with tears. "It was your brother, Evan." I couldn't breathe. My brother, Evan. The one person I had always trusted. The man I thought I knew better than anyone else. Lisa had just told me that he was the biological father of our son. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. My mind was racing, my heart pounding in my chest. For a few moments, I couldn't process it. The words wouldn't stick. I looked at Lisa, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. She was standing there, trembling, as if the weight of her confession had physically drained the life out of her. I tried to steady myself to make sense of it all, but the only thing I could focus on was the sound of my son's laughter echoing down the hall. It felt like a cruel reminder of the life I thought I had, a lie I'd been living all these years. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I finally whispered, my voice barely above a breath. Lisa's eyes filled with tears as she stepped closer. I didn't know how to tell you, and I was terrified of losing you. But the guilt has been eating me alive, and I couldn't hide it any longer. I thought, I thought maybe if you didn't know, everything would be okay. But it's not. And I'm so sorry. I could feel the tears rising in my own eyes, but I fought them back. I couldn't let myself break down. Not yet. There was too much to process. Too much to figure out. How long? I asked, my voice cracking. How long has this been going on? Lisa's face twisted in pain. It was a one-time thing after you and I had been married for a few years. Evan and I were both struggling. I don't know. I didn't think it would matter. I thought it was just a mistake. Just a mistake? I repeated bitterly, the anger bubbling up. How could something like that be just a mistake? I never wanted it to happen, Lisa said, her voice breaking. It shouldn't have, and I regret it every day. But nothing she said could make the truth any easier to swallow. Evan, my brother, was the father of my son. The same brother who had been at our side through every birthday, every family holiday. The man who held my hand through the tough times, the one I considered my closest friend. And yet, he had been lying to me all along. Suddenly, everything started to make sense, or at least it tried to. Alex's odd behavior the past few months, his quiet moments, the way he kept asking me about Evan. It was like the pieces of a puzzle were clicking together, but the picture was one I didn't want to see. I need to see him, I said, my voice hard. I need to talk to Evan. No, don't do that, Lisa pleaded, her hand grabbing my arm. Please. He's not ready to face you. He doesn't even know I told you the truth yet. I shook her off. I need to know everything. If he's been hiding this from me, then I deserve to hear it from him, not you. Lisa's face was pale, and I could see the fear in her eyes. You don't understand, she whispered. It's not just what you think. There's more to the story. Something you don't know about Evan. What are you talking about? I demanded, but Lisa was already shaking her head. I can't tell you yet. Not now. Please, just give me some time, she begged. I didn't know what to believe anymore. The ground beneath me felt unstable, like I was walking on sand. My wife had been hiding this secret for years, and now I was learning that my own brother had been part of it. I was drowning in confusion and betrayal, and the only thing I could focus on was the need to confront Evan, to demand answers. I stood there for a long moment, staring at Lisa, the woman I had built my life with, the woman I had trusted above all else. And now I wasn't sure who she was anymore. Was she the person I thought I knew? Or had I been living with a stranger all this time? Where is he? I asked again, my voice growing colder. I'm going to talk to him. Lisa stepped back, her eyes filled with desperation. Please don't. I'm begging you. You won't understand until you hear the full truth. And Evan isn't the person you think he is. Her words hung in the air, thick with dread. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she wasn't telling me. Something darker, something far worse than the betrayal she'd already revealed. But one thing was clear. I was going to find out. I walked out of the kitchen, my mind made up. As I made my way toward the door, I heard Lisa call out behind me. Please wait. You're not ready for this. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. The truth was out there, and I was going to face it, no matter the cost. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as I stepped outside, my feet moving almost mechanically toward my car. The cold air hit my face, but it didn't matter. I was numb. I had to see Evan. Lisa's desperate pleas echoed in my mind, but I ignored them. She had already told me too much, and now there was no going back. I had to hear it from Evan himself. I needed to know the full truth, whatever that truth was. And the more Lisa tried to stop me, the more I was convinced that there was something even darker hidden behind all of this. I drove to Evan's apartment, the familiar streets now feeling foreign, like I was in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The events of the day were running on a loop in my head. My mind kept circling around the same questions. Why did Lisa lie? Why did Evan do this? What was the secret Lisa was keeping from me? As I pulled up in front of Evan's building, I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. I couldn't let the rage take over. Not yet. I needed answers. The man I had always trusted had betrayed me in ways I couldn't even begin to process. I rang the doorbell, my finger trembling slightly. A few seconds later, the door opened and there stood Evan, looking completely unfazed, like nothing was wrong. His face softened when he saw me, but there was something about the way he looked at me that sent a chill down my spine. It was like he had known this day was coming. "Hey man," he said, trying to sound casual. "What's up?" I didn't waste any time. "We need to talk." Evan's eyes flickered with something I couldn't quite read. He stepped aside to let me in, his movements slow, deliberate. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he was trying to buy time. As I stepped into his apartment, I realized how much it had changed since the last time I'd been there. It was neater, almost sterile, like he was trying to hide something. "Sit down," Evan said, gesturing to the couch. "I'm guessing Lisa already told you." I nodded stiffly. "She did." "About Alex." "About everything." He took a deep breath, sinking into the chair across from me. "I wasn't sure when or how she'd tell you. I knew she was planning to, but, well, I guess this is it." The way he said it, like it was just some simple truth, made my stomach twist. This wasn't a small thing. This was a betrayal. This was my life, my family, falling apart right in front of me. "You're the father," I said, my voice cold and sharp. "How could you do this to me?" Evan didn't flinch. He looked at me with a calmness that made my blood boil. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was one night, and it was a mistake. But it happened. A mistake." I repeated, the anger rising in my chest. "You don't get to call it a mistake when you've been lying to me for 10 years. I raised Alex like he was my own son. And you let me. You let me believe I was his father." Evan's expression softened, and for a moment, I almost saw the brother I used to know. The one who had been there for me through thick and thin. But that man was gone. He was replaced by someone I didn't recognize, someone capable of this kind of betrayal. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I truly am." But it wasn't just me. It was Lisa, too. She made the decision to keep it from you, to hide the truth. It wasn't just me being the bad guy here. I could feel my chest tightening. And what about the rest of it? What about the part where you've been around, playing the part of the perfect uncle? You've been in our lives every single day, knowing the truth, and you said nothing. Evan didn't answer right away. Instead, he just stared at me, his eyes distant, like he was weighing whether or not to say more. Then, finally, he spoke. "There's something else," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Something that Lisa didn't tell you. Something I didn't want you to know." My heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" Evan looked away, his fingers curling into fists on his knees. It wasn't just the one time. It happened more than once. I froze, my mind struggling to keep up. "What? How many times?" "I don't know exactly," Evan admitted, his voice trembling now. "It wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. Over the course of a year. And every time it happened, I knew it was wrong, but it was like we couldn't stop. It was a mess." The words hit me like a punch. My brother, the man I had trusted with everything, had been lying to me for years. And Lisa, my wife, the mother of my child, had been part of it too. I stood up, pacing the room, my mind racing. "You're telling me it went on for a year? You both lied to me for a year, and now you expect me to just forgive you?" Evan looked up at me, his eyes filled with regret. "I didn't want this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. But now that you know, you have to understand that I never stopped loving you like a brother. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." His apology didn't mean anything anymore. The damage was done. The trust was broken. "I don't know who you are anymore," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "And I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you." Evan didn't respond. He just stared at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. As I turned and walked out of the apartment, I realized that the truth had shattered more than just my family. It had shattered me. I couldn't undo what had been done. I couldn't fix what was broken. All I could do was try to find a way to live with it. And even that seemed impossible.